Welcome to this week's podcast. You'll notice you don't see me today, you're just hearing me. And there really is a reason for that. I was prepping for Planning for Peace that's coming up on April 12th in this year's 2025. And I just was going through some of the emails that I get, and it just really prompted me to stop everything I was doing and just record a podcast. So forgive me for not being face to face with you today, but I hope that this will hit home and help you all the same. So the title of today's podcast is What is Your Priority? And I really don't mean for this to be a spanking or a scolding or anything like that. I really mean for it more to be an opportunity, really, for you to sort of step back and look at things. This time of year, I get a ton of emails talking about things that have drifted off. Um, it's March or April now, and I often get parents that say, "Oh, we never actually got started again after the new year," or "We got sidetracked in October, and here it is March, and we've not done anything." And I think if your child is really young, and by that I mean kindergarten age, I would not stress. I would not worry. I would just roll with the punches. That's part of life. And remembering that really Waldorf early childhood years is based on the home. So that's your opportunity to really sort of get in step with and in sync with a good rhythm. But if you've got an older child and this is something that's happening regularly, then I think it's time to sort of step back and chat for a minute. So, I have had my children at all different times of the year. So, my youngest was born 6 weeks early, and she was born. We had been planning on a birthday at the end of May, and she was actually born the third week in April. And I had a stroke one year. Um, and like there are things that happen. There was a year that I got divorced. There are things that happen, things that give us pause and cause us to sort of step back and go, wait a minute, what's going on here? And oh my gosh, I don't have time to do this homeschooling thing. And truly, we need to really look at our priority. And and again, doesn't mean things aren't going to happen. You're going to have births and deaths and calamities that happen, but it's really all in how we make that recovery and what our priority is. So, how do we make it a priority? The first thing, and if you've listened to me for 10 minutes, I'm going to say this, but the first thing is to make a plan. And it's really to make a plan based on your actual rhythm and not on what you think it is. So if you are making plans in your life, in your school, what have you, and you are making it not based on what your actual is, like not taking into account, that you actually have a job outside of the home, or that your husband has, crazy wonky hours that you can't expect, or that, you've got a lot of medical appointments. If you're creating a rhythm not based on your actual, like what really happens every day, then you have to stop that. You have to make a plan based on your actual rhythm. And, it's not enough to go, oh, this is what I think it is, because the mind lies to us. It lies to us because we're not in the middle of it right then. It makes us think, oh, it actually doesn't take that much time to do this thing over here that I want to do. And it really, like, when I look at how long something's going to take, I've gotten really good at being like, all right, I just got to schedule twice as much time for this because it's almost always going to take at least one and a half times what I think it's going to take. So, really and truly, having a plan that is based on your actual rhythm is one of the biggest pieces I can tell you about how to make things a priority. Because then when you look at your rhythm, you look at where you've got school planned, you can make school one of those big rocks in your rock jar. If you've got a jar that's got big rocks and little rocks, your big rocks sort of being those chunks that you have got to get done every day, and your little rocks being sort of those filler pieces, like scrolling the internet or looking on Instagram for all those messages or getting into a fight with somebody on X or something like that. Those would be your little rocks. But those big rocks, if you are looking at like sort of making your plan based on where you know those big rocks are, then it helps so much. And those big rocks should be the things that are priority to you. So school should be a priority to you. If you are calling yourself a homeschooler, school has got to be a priority to you. You want to also be aware of your rhythm and things that derail it. So, what derails your rhythm? Does your cycle every month derail your rhythm? Can you chart and see that you are more productive in certain times of your cycle than others? I never personally had that going on, but I know a lot of mamas that do. A lot of mamas that have like times in the month where they have a ton of energy and times in the month when they don't. So, if that's you, that's great. Just work that into your plan. Don't do nothing and then just go, oh, well, it's my cycle, so I can't do anything. No, you actually have to make a plan around it. Think about other things that could derail you. If your partner's got a wonky job schedule. Well, when Eric worked as a newspaper reporter years ago, we had to work around him. And honestly, the best way to work around him was to not count on him, not count on him for dinner, not count on him to be there to help with kids, not count on him for those things. And that wasn't me being cruel, that was me being real. That way, when he was there, it was a bonus. And I wasn't used to like having him there and then having the rug ripped out from under me when he had to go to a city, 2 cities over to do a newspaper report. So sort of keep those things in mind when you're thinking about how much your partner maybe derails things or you allow your partner to derail things. The third thing I would do is forgive yourself for falling off, but definitely get back on. So forgive yourself, take a breath, and get back on. Decide, like, okay, well, what can I do right now in order to get ready to school this week? I'm recording this on Saturday, and if you're listening to this on the weekend, go, all right, well, what do I do so that I can be ready to go back to school on Monday? If you're listening to this on a Wednesday, then you ask yourself, when am I going to make my back to school date? Is it tomorrow? Do I have my ducks in a row so that I could start tomorrow? And if so, get your fanny to bed tonight. Get up before your kids tomorrow and get things put in place. So many things have to happen when we fall off. One of those things being we have to let our kids know, hey, wait, I screwed up here, but I am going to be kind to myself. But then also, we're going to get back to work tomorrow because you deserve it. You deserve this education. You deserve to have this time. And you deserve for me to like bring you lessons because that is what I agreed to when I decided to homeschool. So like having that in mind is I think super helpful. Gather your family around and say, hey, we've taken a week off. Maybe you got sick. You get sick and you got derailed. That of course happens. It's just say we've taken some time off, but we're going to get right back to it. And this is the day that we're getting back to it. And make sure you talk to dad about it. Like make sure you have this conversation about what you're doing so that you are sort of letting everybody know, hey, I got it. I messed up or we messed up. It got derailed and I'm like loving myself and I'm getting right back on things. Um, the fourth thing I would say is I always try to have a plan B in my back pocket. And that plan B is, what, and I'm talking really about kids that are reading age and up. So that's one reason why I think it's so important to really work to get your kids reading as quickly as possible after first grade, just because I want to be in a spot where I can say, okay, I do need to take today off because I feel like garbage, but I can make sure they're at least reading. I can make sure they're at least doing a drawing from this. So having like a plan in your back pocket, it doesn't have to be a full plan, but it should be a plan. So, that might be an extra book that you just save for occasions like this. Maybe it's a read aloud that you're doing in the afternoons and you feel good enough to do the read aloud today, but you don't really feel good enough to hold full lessons. So do that. Maybe it's some extra math practice problems that you've got written down somewhere that you can just quickly copy into their main lesson book and have them work on, just so that they've got something going. Because what I tend to find is when things really get derailed, it's really the worst part is Once I've let one day go and then 2 days go, all of a sudden it's 5 days, and you go, oh crap, how did that happen? Oh my gosh, we haven't homeschooled in 2 weeks. Well, then it's harder to get right back on and get going again. But if you can just not let yourself fully go off, if at all possible, that's super helpful. The fifth thing I would say is ask for help. So hard sometimes. I have so many mamas say to me, but I'm the one who decided to homeschool. And if I ask for help, then my partner's going to think I'm weak. No, if you ask for help, your partner should think you're human. If your partner thinks you're weak, then you've got another conversation to have. But truly, if you are having a hard time, ask for help. Ask your spouse for help. See if you can hire a mother's helper. If you were having an especially tough year and you can't sort of get back on with regard to school, maybe you are caring for an elderly parent, and you started the school year off great, but you're in a spot where, like, shoot, there's no way you're going to finish, and you really can't stomach sending them to the school down the street. Well, you know what, that's why we have great projects or products like our Seasons of Seven program. Seasons of Seven is an amazing way to still get Waldorf in your home, where our teachers sort of come into your house every day, and you're still homeschooling. It's still led by you, only you don't have to do the lesson work prep. So consider a program like that. The other thing I would do is, like, seriously, make sure that your plan is in place. The thing that saved me when I had my stroke, and the thing that saved me when I had Soraya 6 weeks early, was that I had a plan in place. So with my stroke, my plans were so good that other adults could step in and teach without me. I had everything laid out, page numbers, stories, everything, that they knew it was all there. And the same thing when I had Soraya. I was, at the time, I had four other children I was homeschooling, and I really, like, I was on bed rest, and then all of a sudden I had this tiny 4-pound baby that I had to care for. And if it wasn't for the plans that I had put in place, then I would have been in trouble. So put plans in place. Having a really good, solid plan is so, so important. So on that note, I'm just going to invite you to join us on Saturday the 12th. If you're listening to this is 2025, April 12th, for our first Planning for Peace call. Now, we've made the decision as a company to make Planning for Peace for free. Why are we doing that? Well, because I want to make sure that you have a good foundation. Even if you're not using our curriculum, I want to make sure that you have a good foundation, and that foundation it's the piece that brings you peace as you're working through your school year, and allows you to take time off, allows you to not be stressed out. You can't do that if you don't have an actual, like, foundation put in place. So please, please, please come and join us, Planning for Peace, Saturday, April 12th, 2025. Now, if you are listening to this way later, look and see when our next office hours call is, our next Planning for Peace call is. Drop us a note, team@melissanielsen.com, and ask our team what it is, that you need to do to get started. But don't wait. Don't wait. Don't put things off. You deserve to feel really good about your homeschool. Your kids deserve to have kick-ass lessons that are led by mom, that you are in a good place. So please, please, please do the work and ask yourself, what is my priority? You've got this. See you soon.